definitely moving in that direction in a lot of different ways. One of them that we just saw on Tisha B'Av was
The world is definitely moving in that direction in a lot of different ways. One of them that we just saw on Tisha B'Av was more the system was paused but not broken. When the Second Temple fell in 70 AD and the sacrificial altar was reduced to rubble, it wasn't just a building that died. It was a divine process frozen in time, a sequence of sacred steps initiated by God, drew Moses suspended like breath held in a cosmic chest. And at the center of it all, ashes. Ashes from a red heifer that once turned impurity into purity. For nearly 2,000 years, that ash was unavailable. The law remained, but the means vanished. Jewish law in Numbers outlines a paradoxical ritual. To purify those defiled by death, a red heifer, flawless, untouched by yoke, without a single non-red hair, must be sacrificed and burned outside the camp. Its ashes, combined with spring water, form the water of purification. Without this ash, priests remain ritually impure, and without purified priests, the temple remains unusable, even if it were built tomorrow. That's the hidden truth. The temple wasn't just destroyed by Rome, it was bound by a law deeper than armies or stone, until now. In September 2022, 5 red heifers, each meeting rabbinic qualifications, were flown from Texas to Israel, unannounced, uncelebrated by mainstream media. But in prophetic circles, the earth rumbled. Why now? Why these cows, and why are temple authorities preparing to perform the first red heifer sacrifice in 2,000 years within months? Because the countdown isn't theoretical anymore, it's logistical. The system is breathing again, and with every passing day, the dust of 2 millennia stirs beneath Jerusalem. But where exactly will this sacrifice take place? And what must happen before the temple rises from the ashes? It won't happen just anywhere. The red heifer cannot be sacrificed in Galilee, not on the kibbutz, not in a hidden valley. It must happen on one specific hill outside the city, yet within direct line of sight to the Temple Mount. That place is the Mount of Olives. It was here centuries ago that the ashes were last made, and now rabbinic authorities are preparing to return. They've marked the location. They've surveyed the topography. They've traced the line back to the Holy of Holies, because according to ancient law, the blood of the red heifer must be sprinkled 7 times, facing the place where the temple stood and where it will stand again. The law is precise, symbol-heavy, unyielding, and it doesn't care about geopolitics. Between the Mount of Olives and the Temple Mount stands the Dome of the Rock, a structure sacred to over 1.6 billion Muslims. But prophecy doesn't bow to stone. The Temple Institute, working with Levitical priests, has confirmed it. One of the red heifers will be sacrificed before Passover. That's not theory, that's scheduling. Once it's done, the ashes will be stored, not displayed, not scattered, preserved to purify priests for the day they walk into the new temple. And when that first priest passes through the gate carrying sacred blood and incense, a clock that's been silent for 20 centuries will begin ticking again. But purification requires more than ashes. It requires vessels, knives, trumpets, gold, and every single one has already been made. Somewhere beneath Jerusalem, a vault waits. Its contents are not priceless because of rarity, but because of destiny. Inside, over 60 sacred objects, painstakingly crafted, biblically accurate, and temple-ready. There is the menorah, a 95-kilogram monument of pure gold, reconstructed exactly as Exodus described. It glows, not with electricity, but with prophetic intention. There's the altar of incense, plated with acacia wood and gold. There are silver trumpets tuned to echo the exact calls once heard on Solomon's mountaintop. But perhaps the most sacred object of all is not made of gold, but linen. The high priest's breastplate, the choshen, glimmers with 12 real gemstones, each bearing the name of a tribe of Israel. When worn, it places the entire nation symbolically upon the priest's heart. And this isn't theatrical. These garments aren't ceremonial costumes. They are prophetic tools forged by hands that believe the Messiah's footsteps are already echoing in Jerusalem's streets. Nothing here was made for tourists. Nothing is symbolic. Every object is functional. Every edge is sharpened. Every vessel is consecrated. Every measurement is rabbinically confirmed. It's a storage room that functions more like a launch pad because once the green light is given, everything needed for the temple can be deployed in hours. But vessels cannot function without servants. And for that, another layer of prophecy had to be activated. What if the bloodlines of Aaron still walk among us? And what if they've been training in secret, waiting for their moment? They rise before dawn, not for exercise, not for ritual play, but for rehearsal. In a small training school near Jericho, dozens of men, genetically verified descendants of Aaron, are learning the ancient priesthood. They learn to identify animals for sacrifice, to inspect without flaw, to slit with precision, to burn with reverence. They study the weight of incense, the pitch of chant, the angle of the knife. And they do it all in full garments, garments that carry the weight of nations. One of them is Shim Cohen, a systems engineer by trade, but every Wednesday night he drives 2 hours to train. Why? Because DNA confirmed he is a Cohen, a priest, by blood, not by choice. He is one of over 200 men now trained in temple ready. These aren't actors, they aren't hobbyists, they are living vessels of Levitical protocol. And they're preparing not just for ceremony, but for collision. Because when temple service resumes, the world's balance will shift. Every sacrifice they rehearse, every trumpet blast they perfect, every step they memorize is one heartbeat closer to the day the temple breathes again. But how do you build a temple with no ground to stand on? The holiest place on earth is contested dirt. The Temple Mount, where Abraham nearly sacrificed Isaac, where Solomon built a house for God, where Jesus taught and overturned tables, now hosts a different structure, the Dome of the Rock. It is golden, ancient, politically untouchable for now. But prophecy doesn't require votes. In 1967, Israel reclaimed the Temple Mount. Yet, in a move to avoid religious war, Prime Minister Levi Eshkol handed administrative control to the Islamic Waqf. Since then, Jews may visit but not pray. But that line is fading. In the last decade, Temple Mount activists, including Knesset members and rabbis, have pushed that boundary. Tens of thousands now ascend annually. Some pray in silence, others whisper the Shema under their breath. Every word a provocation, every breath a petition. Rabbis say the temple can't rise until the mount is freed, but some believe it's already happening. Every rising tension, every protest, every echo of Psalm 2, "Why do the nations rage?" is another tremor. And once the obstacle is removed, by war, by agreement, or by force of prophecy, construction will not take years. It will take days. Because the blueprints already exist. This isn't fantasy, it's engineering. For over 20 years, Israeli architects and structural engineers have worked in secret on the Third Temple blueprints. These aren't just artistic renderings, they're building plans, complete with plumbing, electrical, security systems, and crowd control logistics. Why? Because they believe when the green light flashes, there won't be time for revisions.
The temple design mirrors Ezekiel's vision, 150 meters by 150 meters divided into precise courts, Gentiles, women, men, priests. In the center, the sanctuary, holy place, and behind the veil, the Holy of Holies. They've even built full-scale models in a facility outside Jerusalem. There you can walk the halls, enter the replica holy place, and feel the eerie intersection of ancient prophecy and modern preparation. Everything is ready. Only the mountain stands in the way. But beneath that same mountain, another mystery stirs. one that could change everything. It started with a whisper beneath the Dead Sea. In 2010, bearded men in traditional garb gathered near the salty shore, not to swim, but to collect stones. Not just any stones, stones that had never known metal, never been cut, drilled, or altered, because Deuteronomy forbids any altar stone from being touched by iron. Why? Because iron makes swords, and the altar is for life. These men labored by hand, using ropes, wooden levers, and sheer determination. Each stone was photographed, cataloged, and stored in a secure warehouse in Jerusalem. There are enough now to build the altar twice in case of error. They even mapped the placement of each stone like a sacred puzzle. They know the dimensions: 5 cubits long, 5 wide, 3 high, exactly as Exodus describes. These stones now sit in silence, waiting. And should the red heifer ashes be prepared in time, the altar could be assembled in under a week. Then, for the first time in 2,000 years, blood would touch stone again. But the most dangerous part isn't what's built, it's who's watching and who will enter it. The third temple will not remain pure. According to Daniel, Thessalonians, and the words of Christ himself, this temple will become the throne of the man of sin, the Antichrist. He will enter, he will sit, he will declare himself God. This is the abomination of desolation, and once it occurs, the clock begins. 1,260 days until the return of Jesus. The priests know this. The rabbis fear it. The scriptures demand it. This is not just a house for God. It will become a theater for deception, a trap for nations, a magnet for war. And when it happens, the world will split between those who worship the beast and those who wait for the king. But how close is that moment? And what supernatural forces are fighting to delay or accelerate it? This isn't just geopolitics. It's spiritual warfare. Every time temple preparations accelerate, strange events occur. In 2005, a fire consumed the hotel set to host a major temple conference. In 2010, ropes broke mysteriously as altar stones were transported. In 2022, when red heifers landed in Israel, forecasted storms vanished instantly. Coincidence or resistance? Ephesians warns, "We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual hosts of wickedness in heavenly places." The battle for the third temple isn't just fought in parliaments. It's fought in the invisible realm. Leaders lose power overnight. Donors withdraw funding mysteriously. Priests suffer sudden illness. Architects vanish from the public eye. And yet, every setback is followed by a surge. A donor appears. A law is passed. A discovery is made. The war is real, and heaven is not watching passively, because the return of the king is almost at the door. This isn't about cows. It's not about gold or stones or plans. It's about a clock, prophetic, divine, and relentless, counting down to the return of the King of Kings. According to Zechariah, Jesus will return to the Mount of Olives and split it in two, and enter Jerusalem as the rightful king. Revelation says he will descend on a white horse with armies clothed in white behind him. And where will he go? To the Temple Mount, to confront the throne of the Antichrist, to purify what was defiled, to reign from Jerusalem for 1,000 years. The third temple will be the site of global deception and then the epicenter of cosmic justice. Right now, the red heifer is alive. The altar stones are stored. The vessels are ready. The priests are trained. The mount is trembling, and heaven is preparing to descend, because the ashes will rise, and when they do, the king will follow.